Hello, this is a video with guidance on how to answer question 3 on the Depression, War and Recovery paper, and that is the significance question. So it'll ask you why a particular feature was significant or important during the time period. To help us with this one, we're looking at the question, why was rationing significant during the Second World War? Okay, now what the examiners will use, the mark scheme that they will use, the banding, is this. It's worth 12 marks. 4 marks are available for AO1, which is your knowledge and understanding, and 8 marks are available for AO2, which is explaining something within the historical context, okay, knowing exactly what was going on. So, as you can see here, to get 1 mark, if you've got basic knowledge and understanding of rationing of the key feature, you get 1 mark. If you've got some knowledge, you get 2. Detailed knowledge will get 3. Comprehensive knowledge, and that's where you include really everything that is relevant, will get 4 marks. With the AO2, with the explaining within the historical context, if you just describe without actually linking it to the question, without giving consequences or causes, then you're going to get between 1 and 2 marks. If you begin to explain it, so there are some links to what the consequences were and why it was important or significant, you get between 3 and 4. If you have explained it, okay, within the historical context, you make those links, it's between 5 and 6 marks. If you fully explain it, okay, so you really exhaustively explain why each point and each feature was significant there, then you're looking for between 7 and 8 marks for that part. Okay, so let's start this one together on how to approach it. What you should do is to aim to make about 4 points, 4 different reasons or points on why rationing was significant. Okay, you make sure you are linking this directly to the question at the end of each point, and you make sure that you have specific historical knowledge and detail to support. Okay, to support each point. Okay, I'm going to do it as a chart to help show you how to do it, and so it becomes clear. Okay, so first of all, if we think about rationing during the Second World War, it was significant, it was vitally significant. During World War I, they hadn't introduced rationing quickly enough, and there was a shortage of foods that led to an impact on people's health and the amount of food they could have as well. So during World War II, or before World War II even, they wanted to get this right, so that didn't happen again. So what you could mention first of all was during the Second World War, rationing began very quickly. The government were very quick to implement rationing straight away. So point 1 that I'm going to focus on is that rationing was significant because of the amount of food that was imported before World War II from other countries that we would have to limit. Okay, so I would make the point that 55 million tons of food was imported into Britain. We had enough to feed every 1 in 3 people. Okay, Britain produced enough food to feed every 1 in 3 people. Okay, so therefore rationing and sharing that food out was significant. It was essential. So we can put there rationing was essential. Okay, specific knowledge to support that is one of the aim of the Nazis was to disrupt the food supply. Okay, the food that came in would be coming in on ships, and they would use their U-boats to bomb them. So it was dangerous to import food. Okay, in another specific bit of knowledge there, in 1942, 275 merchant ships were destroyed. So the merchant ships are the ones that are bringing in goods. Okay, so in this case food. Ships were destroyed by the Germans. Okay, so you've got some specific knowledge to back that up. Okay, so therefore, in order to link this back to the question, say why it was significant, rationing, or the sharing out of food, was essential because we needed to plug the gap left by those exports that we wouldn't get. Okay, so we rationed essential items to plug the gap left by limited imports of food. Okay, so that was point one. So what we've done here, we can see we've got the point, we've backed it up with really specific knowledge there, and then we've linked this directly back to the question again and said why that meant that rationing was significant. If we were looking at point two, it was significant because the government could ensure that health was maintained. So it maintained, rationing was significant, because it maintained the health of the population. Okay, so our specific knowledge there to support that is that it made sure that everyone had a fair share of food. It made sure that people had a balanced diet, that they would have fats, that they would have sugars, that they would have meat, that they would have dairy, and this would all be topped up and maintained and supplemented by vegetables that they'd be growing as well. Okay, so the government then, it was shows how important maintaining the health of the population was, because it was very strict controls. I mean, if you wanted to mention that they controlled the black market by having very severe punishments and imprisonment and large fines for those who were known to be trading food on the black market, then that could also support that. So it maintained the health of the population, and in fact people actually became healthier during the war. Population became healthier. So we link that back. It was very significant. It made sure that people were fit and healthy. Okay. A third point I'd make as to why rationing was significant during the Second World War, a third point I'd make, is that it encouraged people to grow their own food. Okay, so because everything was rationed, the things that people could grow on their own, they did. Okay, now we could use here the Dig for Victory campaign. Was a very significant feature of World War II. There was lots of propaganda to support it. Okay, there were even people growing food in the moat on the Tower of London. People were encouraged to grow vegetables on top of their Anderson shelters or wherever they possibly could. Okay, so they wouldn't grow as many flowers, they would start to grow as much food as possible. This was so significant, so what we could say that is that it also raised the morale of people. Raised morale of the population, because it felt that they were part of the war effort. Okay, which was really, really important. So rationing encouraged people to grow their own food so they could supplement their diets, and it also made sure that they were actually part of this war, and that growing their own food and rationing was actually equally as important as it was actually fighting the war with weapons. Okay, so it became a very significant feature. Another point we could make is that it introduced unfamiliar food types. Or unfamiliar foods. Okay, because some foods were limited, people started to become inventive. Okay, there was a big campaign, we could mention Dr. Carrot, where people were encouraged to make carrot jam, curried carrot. Carolade was a drink made with carrot juice and sweet juice. Carrot cake became very popular in the Second World War. Also potatoes, people were encouraged to use, with potato peat, they were encouraged to use, eat more potatoes than bread. They were encouraged to use grated potato instead of fats to make cakes. So all of this did, again, raise morale and make people part of the war effort. But what it also did was improve health, okay? So also improved health, which was very important to the war effort. People were consuming more calories than they had in the 1930s. They were consuming the appropriate amount of sugar and fats and lots of vegetables as well. So each point there has been made. We've made 4 points as to why rationing was significant. And we've also got very detailed information or specific information to support that point. Okay, we could round that off with a little conclusion at the end to say that overall, if rationing hadn't been introduced, then the nation could have reached starvation levels, okay, as far as food. So rationing wasn't just a significant factor, it was an essential factor or feature of making sure that Britain survived the war and then helped to lead to victory as well. Okay, so in summary then, just to help you with sort of each paragraph, I would do a separate paragraph on each point. So a paragraph on, first of all, the amount of food that was imported, so why we needed rationing, okay, with this. I would do a paragraph on the health of the population, that it maintained the health, a paragraph on the encouragement of people to grow their own food, and a paragraph on unfamiliar foods or using foods in a more inventive way, then a little conclusion at the end. So in order for each paragraph to be successful, make your point to link to the question, have examples with specific detail or historical knowledge to support that point, and make sure in the last sentence of that paragraph that you link it directly back to the question. So you could say, this meant that rationing was significant during the Second World War because, okay? If you do that, you really are hitting all these points. You're fully explaining, and as long as we've got very detailed knowledge there, and with specifics or a comprehensive knowledge, as we've just displayed with the rationing, then we're going to get very high marks for that indeed. Okay, there are, I have emailed out to you some past paper questions, so please have a go at these, email them to me, and I will get them marked and sent them back to you, okay, over the holidays. Very, very good luck.